Christians of the Eastern Rite honor and venerate many bizarre icons. Some of them depict real monsters, only partially resembling people, but they are canonized by the Church, which means they are canonized. We will only consider the most famous ones. For example, here is the Virgin Mary with 3 arms. The name of the icon speaks for itself, it depicts the Virgin Mary with 3 arms. According to legend, the history of the creation of this image took place in the 13th century in Byzantium and is associated with an episode from the life of Saint John of Damascus. He lived in Syria, came from a noble Christian family and was a prominent official of the caliphate. In those days, iconoclasm was still gaining strength, a government-sanctioned movement against the veneration of icons and the destruction of all other objects of worship. As a zealous Christian, Damaskin did not stand aside and sent a letter of protest to the Byzantine Emperor Leo III. It quickly spread throughout the empire, angering the emperor, but he could do nothing about a Syrian citizen. Thus, a plan was born to take advantage of Damascus. A letter was written in his name, claiming that Damaskin was calling on the Byzantine ruler to attack Syria and save it from the caliphate. The forgery was handed over to the caliph, who ordered Damaskin's hand to be cut off. As a warning, they placed the hand on the main square of the city. The slanderer prays all night before the image of the Virgin Mary, and the severed hand miraculously grows back. Soon, according to believers, the first icon of the Virgin Mary appeared with a 3rd silver hand attached to it. But over time, it became a tradition to simply paint. Here's another strange image. A saint with a dog's head. This icon of Saint Christopher in the 18th century was officially banned by the Holy Synod of the Orthodox Church as contrary to nature. In other words, the dog saint looked too ugly. Icons with him were usually destroyed, but a few have survived to this day. For example, Old Believers still worship the image of Christopher the dog-headed. There are several versions of why the martyr Christopher, who lived in the 3rd century, began to be depicted with a dog's head. From the theory that he suffered from a rare type of genetic mutation, hypertrichosis, from which the human body is almost completely covered with thick hair, to the version that his nickname and his ferocious animal character were interpreted exactly this way. There is even an opinion that Christopher came from the tribe of dog heads, people with dog heads, descriptions of which are often found since ancient times. One way or another, after the ban of the Synod, Christopher began to be depicted like all normal people. And even more interesting are the icons depicting Jesus Christ with 3 faces. The Catholic Church condemned such images a century earlier than the Orthodox Church. Uncanonical and ugly, declared the Orthodox Synod in 1764 and banned the image. However, the news did not spread quickly to remote areas of Russia, and many icons continued to appear in remote churches. In fact, 1 head, 3 faces, 4 eyes, this frightening picture is just one of the visual images of the divinely revealed doctrine of the Trinity, Father, Son and Holy Spirit. Traditionally, they are depicted as 3 identical figures with the image of Christ, but the idea develops exactly like this. In some icons, the Trinity usually has 1 body, but 3 heads with identical faces. Another unusual image of Jesus Christ is sleeping with open eyes. For those who are not familiar with the canons of icon painting, I will explain. Christ anapasin, or Christ sleeping, is a very unusual example. It depicts Christ as a young man who is either holding his face up out of boredom or is about to take a little nap. In fact, Jesus is already asleep in this image, but he sleeps with his eyes open, which is an allusion to a lion. In the Middle Ages, it was believed that a lion slept like this. There are only a few lines in the Bible about the origin of the image, where Jesus is called the Lion of the tribe of Judah, that is, a brave man. In iconography, this image appeared in Byzantium, and then spread to other Orthodox countries. And the last icon in our row is called, In the Belly of a Whale. This is a very rare icon depicting one of the themes of the Old Testament. The Lord called the prophet Jonah and commanded him to go to the sinful city of Nineveh and preach the true faith there. However, Jonah did not want to fulfill the will of God and decided to simply go the long way. God's judgment came to Jonah in the form of a whale, which swallowed the prophet during a storm, and Jonah prayed to God for forgiveness for 3 days and 3 nights while in the belly of the whale. As a result, God forgave Jonah, and later the prophet converted many pagans to the faith. And the icon depicts the moment of Jonah's release from the whale to freedom. In the Orthodox Church, any image was painted in such a way that it seemed to come to life and a person spoke to God through the icon. I think you will agree that God is unlikely to speak to anyone through these icons. But still, such works also have a right to life, at least as art.